Good evening, this is Meteorologist Colleen Peterson. We are tracking the threat of strong storms as we head into the evening. So go ahead and comment and let us know where you're tuning in from, and if you have any questions. I do have the live stream pulled up for any comments that we see coming in. So right now we're quiet, our radar, not seeing anything just yet, but you'll notice that Storm Prediction Center outlook, the latest update, is across the majority of Louisville. This does include the metro areas from southern Indiana to southern Ohio of seeing some stronger storms. Now, we're not saying it's guaranteed, but there is a heightened risk in the areas highlighted in orange on the map. You'll see it does include Jefferson County all the way over to Bedford. I think that's the target area. If we happen to see any strong tornadoes, those are going to be the communities impacted. However, for Bardstown and E-Town down to Campbellsville, your risk is not zero. It is still possible to see some of those stronger storms, but that line is expected to weaken as it crosses Indiana, then eventually into southern Kentucky. It'll be a much weaker system after it moves through Adair County. So overall risk, it is heightened to level 3 out of 5 here across the immediate metro. Yes, it is possible to see maybe 1 or 2 tornadoes embedded in that line of storms that we're watching pass through around 2 o'clock in the morning to 8 o'clock. And it's also possible of that tornado, if it happens to touch the ground or if it is on the ground producing damage, it could be a stronger tornado. So with those kind of heightened risks, the ingredients are there, and if it happens to all come together, that's what we could potentially see. We're not saying it's guaranteed, but it is a heightened risk here in Kentucky and Indiana. We're also talking about some strong wind gusts. That is also going to be a big impact here in Kentuckiana. We could see wind gusts up to 70 miles per hour, so power outages are possible, as well as some large hail. So right now we're quiet. Let's go ahead and walk you through that forecast, time it out, and talk about when and what time I think it's going to be where and what kind of threats it's posing. So here for the next hour, we're still going to remain quiet, but once we head towards 9 p.m. to 10 p.m., that's when we can maybe see a few isolated thunderstorms starting to fire up. This is mainly for southern Indiana from 9 p.m. to 2 a.m., mainly going to see hail. I think the tornado threat is a little bit lower for this time period, but it's not zero. If we happen to see one, it would likely be on that weaker side. It's really when that main line passes through past 2 a.m. when that greatest risk of seeing those stronger storms. So we're going to be watching that, especially on the radar here over the next few hours. It's starting to develop around 2 o'clock. That is where that line will start to form. Areas around Seymour down to Jasper. That is where that line is going to start to fire up, clashing with our ingredients that we have here. I mean, we have some strong wind gusts, we have instability, which is moisture in our atmosphere, we have a lot of lift, and our temperatures are in the 60s, which has been fueling the reason of why we are under a severe weather risk, because our atmosphere is just so unstable. So I think from 2 o'clock to 9 o'clock in the morning, that is that time window of that line passing through. So by the time we head towards 3:30 in the morning, that's when it's going to cross Tell City over to Corridon. That is when it is going to eventually make its way towards here in the metro. I'm going to leave it on this for a second because I do want to talk about this. 4 o'clock in the morning, I think from 2 to 6 a.m., if we happen to see any tornadoes, I think that's that time window here around Louisville, down to Hardinsburg, over to Newcastle. This also includes Trumbull County, as well as Clark County, areas surrounding the immediate metro. It does look like it has that potential to strengthen. Other models doesn't show it as strong, so it's a toss-up. If we happen to see the ingredients come together, and if it happens to look like this, we are going to be watching this line because it could get some rotation going on some of the kinks that are embedded in this line. If we happen to see some rotation, it could drop a tornado and then start to lift again, weaken, and then strengthen, and then drop it again. So it could be an event where we have multiple warnings for this line of storms as it crosses Kentuckiana. So again, I'm going to reiterate, from 3 a.m. to 6 a.m., I think that's that time window where it's going to be worse from areas from Hardinsburg through Louisville, through Scottsburg, through Newcastle. So that's when that line is going to cross. Yes, heavy rain, but we can also talk about some large hail possible and some also strong wind gusts around 70 miles per hour. Once we head towards 5, 6 o'clock, the line will significantly weaken, which is great because we do not want it to hold its strength. E-Town to Bardstown, you are under that level 2 risk. It is possible that it could still be producing some stronger wind gusts and maybe still some rotating storms, but once it passes over to Campbellsville, anything beyond Campbellsville, it is likely going to weaken. So this time, the farther south you are in Kentucky, the lower risk of seeing any of those stronger storms. Hopefully I'm settling some nerves, even if you live in Louisville, because it's good to know, and it's also good to know to be prepared, and it's not guaranteed that we're going to see something. In fact, recent trends have it a little bit weaker of a system, but the ingredients are there, and that's why we like to talk about all of the potential, all of the possibilities, so you're not caught off guard if it happens, if your neighborhood happens to see a warning. So this timestamp is at 8:30 in the morning. I think by then we'll just have lingering rain. That front, it will be already passing through, so we'll already be dropping into the 40s over in Jasper and Bedford and areas over in Seymour. By the time we head towards 11 o'clock, temperatures will then really start to plummet. In fact, we could even see a few lingering flurries at this time. So it's a very interesting system. If we have lingering moisture, we could see lingering flurries with our atmosphere really cooling off quickly. By the afternoon, temperatures in the low 40s and upper 30s, and we'll have wind chills in the 30s, potentially 20s in some spots. So it is going to be a cold snap that we are watching here with this system. So let's go ahead and talk about the overall weather impacts. I think this is going to be the big takeaway for a lot of us. What can we see? This is not guaranteed, as I said, from 2 o'clock in the morning till 8 o'clock. I think along that line, the best chance of seeing, if we happen to see a severe thunderstorm warning, would be those stronger wind gusts around 70 miles per hour. So that would be a severe thunderstorm warning if you happen to see those 70-mile-per-hour winds, which could also cause some power outages. So you definitely want to make sure that you have that kit in place, the flashlights. Also let your kids know, have shoes ready by the door if you happen to have power outages or any damage or need to get to the basement quick because of some rough weather outside. That could also cause some trees to fall as well. So I think the biggest risk is definitely those stronger wind gusts, as well as the secondary. That's going to be the heavy rain, the large hail, and also the threat of seeing a tornado. Now, if we happen to see a tornado, there is a chance that it could become strong. It could become long-lived if it happens to have all of the ingredients. That's why it's a medium risk. We're not saying there's a likely chance that we're seeing a tornado. We are telling you that it is just a possibility. So I don't want you going to bed freaking out about this system, because it's a medium risk. It's not zero and it's not low. It can happen or it can't. So we're kind of in that boat right now, which is why we need to take our precautions. Make sure you have your phone charged. Make sure you have your weather radio, which is very important to have, because sometimes your phone doesn't wake you up and you can't really rely on Siri, because sometimes it doesn't send you the right kind of alerts. In fact, I've been in a weather system, actually in a hurricane, and Siri didn't notify me at all. So do not rely on your cell phone. I think it's very important to have other ways and other means to stay updated. As well as us here, you can always leave your TV on at night if that helps, because whenever there's a warning, I'm going to cut in, and then Chief Meteorologist Ben Pine will be here in the morning. Around 2 o'clock, he'll be here. So right when it's really starting to pick up, Ben will take over. Looking at that radar right now, it's pretty quiet, just seeing some light rain. This is what we want to see. Nothing out there just yet. In fact, it's 8:10 p.m., and we're not even seeing any thunderstorms in our vicinity in southern Indiana and Illinois. We are looking off to the west. You can definitely see Chicago is starting to see some warnings pop up in their areas. In fact, that's a tornado emergency. There is a tornado on the ground just outside of Chicago, so the suburbs. So it actually looks like a little bit farther than the suburbs of Chicago. So that system is already starting to develop. I think it's going to be worse in Chicago than us here in Louisville. I think their ingredients are just a little bit better for them. But that line is going to start to blossom here. Let me see if I can. Right around here. We're watching those storms, because that's what's going to continue to develop and head our way. So it actually hasn't even developed yet. The storms that are tracking overnight tonight around 2 o'clock in the morning, they haven't even developed. They're just starting to fire up right now, just west of St. Louis. So we got our eyes on it. We still got some time. It's going to be a late night, early morning event, and we just want to make sure that you are prepared for it. So here are some tips to, hey, how can I prepare if you're unsure? Stay up to date on the forecast. That's definitely what you're doing right now, joining this live stream. So I thank you for joining us. And if you're tuning in on our app, thank you for tuning in. We have a lot to do tonight. So I'm going to stay updated. We're going to do another live stream at 9:30 p.m. And as I already talked about, have multiple ways to receive warnings and charge that cell phone. Have batteries and a flashlight and sturdy shoes close by in case you happen to need to run to the basement real quick. Designated safe space, talk to your kids, make sure they understand what's going on in a calm environment, because the last thing you want to do if a warning happens and you're not prepared, there's not like a set plan in place, it could be a lot of panic at a time where it doesn't need to be panicked. Just go to the basement, go to the bathroom, grab some pillows, and just wait it out. And that's the best we can do in Kentucky, is have those precautions. So I'm going to get back to the radar and read through some of these comments right now. Lori McPeaks has a question. Does your alert still go off on our phones for tornadoes? Yes and no. I think that it does. I can't for sure give you the answer to that. I think it does, but a lot of times it's quiet if you have do not disturb on, or if you have your phone on silent. There's, I feel like, a higher chance of you not waking up because it's not loud. A weather radio is like a siren going off in your house. It's beep, 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 bleep. Like, it will wake you up for sure. So I think that's why weather radio overnight is important, because you will know, because that thing is loud. It will wake you up. And also know that, what are they called? The sirens outside, the tornado sirens, they're not for indoors. Those are for outdoors, to let people know outside that, hey, there's a tornado warning and there's a tornado on the ground. So it's not for indoors. In fact, a lot of walls, you can barely hear it. So really try not to rely just on your cell phone. Louis Riviera has a very interesting and good question. I noticed there was no much sunshine today. Does this affect the severity of the storm? I think when it comes to severe weather, yes, that is true. Sunshine before a thunderstorm, it creates a lot of instability. It allows the water particles to rise quicker and form storms faster. It does increase instability. Yeah, we did have clouds, so yes, it did do something, but our temperatures were still at 68 in the afternoon, so we still have an unstable environment that if we did have sunshine, it would be a much higher risk. So it did help in a little bit keep our cap on our storms just a tad bit. David Moody, if you don't have cable TV, does the warning still come through the TV? Yes, if you are on a streaming service, we will cut in to whatever is on ABC News. We will cut in. So if you have ABC News on YouTube TV or Apple TV, yes, you will get our coverage when we overtake that system. That is a very good question, David. Seth said, be praying during the severe weather. Yes, we all need to stay safe. I have our community in our thoughts, and I'm going to be looking at that radar very closely. Our webcam is very glitchy right now, so that's why I am here, but you can see it's glitchy, and I don't want to cause anybody headaches right now. The weather is enough headache in itself, so I'm going to cut it back to graphics just to let you guys know that, hey, I'm here, I'm watching, I'm looking, and if I happen to see any kind of rotation out ahead of it, before a warning even happens, I'm going to let you know. I'm going to, even just if for a few minutes, hey, this storm looks like it's rotating, I'm going to keep my eyes on it, go off the TV, because that's just the way it is. I mean, I think warnings happen so quick and there's little time, and if I could make that time any longer to help people be prepared to go to the basement, I'm going to do the best I can. So with that, we had a lot of good questions. We're going to go ahead and end this live stream. We'll have another one at 9:30 p.m. and stay safe out there on top of that forecast. Really, that timing is 2 a.m. to 8 a.m. tomorrow morning. Our Chief Meteorologist Ben Pine will be here in the morning, and I'll be here throughout the rest of the night.